What did you do in the interim to keep yourself busy? You mentioned the last time you were on, you have Diablo Digital, which is a company that you created with a partner who, well, tell us, what does Diablo Digital do?
So my partner is Greg Price, who's not currently Metallica's front of house engineer, and he had done Ozzy. And I've known him since the 80s. We started a recording business, a multi-track touring recording business about 12 years ago, sort of formalized it about 10 years ago, and grew from 4 systems that we'd built together up to, I don't even know, 60 or so.
Wow.
And we've had them out on a lot of different things, Rolling Stones, YouTube, our own tours. And that is pretty much a matured business at this point. So during the pandemic, I really kind of refocused on that. I mean, there was a lot of things like, we'll try streaming, we'll try, podcasting, try this, try that. But what it really wound up happening was I got focused on upgrading some of the older touring systems, cleaning things up, upgrading OSs and versions of the DAWs.
All the things that you can't, that you don't
when you're busy, right,
when you're busy, right? Yeah.
Right. So take everything, take it apart, blow it out, reinstall the OS or install the new OS. So anyway, that kept me getting into the office a few times a week anyway whatever wound up being 16 months or so, I think.
Yeah. Right. Huh. And those recording rigs that either you use or you, I assume, loan out to other tours that are using them, they're taking those and then using them to record and then release their own albums or live albums or streams or whatever it is they want to do.
So they're useful in a number of ways. That's one. And that has happened on a few occasions. Like the Rolling Stones will use it and every once in a while put out a little nugget, one song, along with video on their website. For example, and I know I recorded Sarah Bareilles with one of them, and that turned into a record live at Hollywood Bowl. We recorded Florence and the Machine at Madison Square Garden. Maybe anyway, but at a show somewhere. I think it was Madison Square Garden. And that turned into a record. So yeah. Also, it's just really useful for engineers to have to play back and know that they check their work, but also do something called virtual sound check, where they can play the actual band through the PA during the day, and it's a pretty good replication of what the band is going to sound like later. So that's super useful. A lot of engineers just use it for that.
Oh yeah.
We're sort of starting to embark on maybe more tighter integration with video for post-production. It's something we've been trying to do for a long time, but we're just getting to that point where that's more viable from a technological standpoint.
Yep.
So it's always been like we go out on a tour and the tour is carrying 90% of what they need to do to make a movie.
Yeah.
And I think Taylor Swift opened a lot of eyes this year with that movie. That made a lot of money, and suddenly people are far more interested in the technology because you do have a lot of what you would need to do that. Currently on the tour.
Absolutely, we had a friend of mine, Davis Thurston, who is a sound engineer locally here. I've worked with him a bunch, and he sort of is similar to you. During the pandemic, he took some time, and he'd always had this vision of doing a multicam live stream and or recording of local bands. And I'll put a link in the show notes for anybody that wants to listen if you didn't. Yeah. But Davis went nuts, and he figured out he can do 8 GoPros. And he figured out if he's using an ATEM switcher, this port can take a 30-foot HDMI cable. This port can only take a 6-foot one, but he figured it out, and he can live record and mix it because it doesn't take that much more. To your point, even a local band has a lot of what you need to make a movie these days. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there's like people playing around with other technologies, like setting up iPhones on stands around the stage, and streaming the video content to a central location, and doing like either ingesting the video and I mean, it's 4K video. It's not bad.
It's not bad. No.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're poking around at that. Still, the big hurdle from a live standpoint is being able to upload or stream these things from a remote venue, which may or may not have the greatest internet. But we're starting to see, more and more places where it's viable. So,
okay. I mean, you don't need that much, right? I mean, if you're doing the even a 4K mix, if you're doing the mix locally, right? So you're only sending one 4K stream away. I mean, what do you need? 50 megabits per second? I mean, it has to be consistent and clean. Don't get me wrong. I understand.
Yeah, it's got to be like really tight. You know, you're not going to do it on Wi-Fi.
You can't use Wi-Fi, right? Fair. Yeah, fair.
So you probably want to lease a line if it's really kind of important that you send it somewhere,
like
or use satellite.
If people have paid for this, yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're looking at something maybe a little bit more involved in that, like sending like pushing multi-track to a remote site for like anyways, there's a lot of ideas that require high bandwidth, but really more importantly, bandwidth that cannot go away. Like it's got to be a line that's totally solid and nobody else has got traffic. It's like a dark fiber line that nobody else is using. That kind of thing. So
are venues putting these in because they know that this is going to happen? I mean,
if you pay for it.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I know that like I'm a fan of the band Fish, right? And they've been doing live streams since of 90% of their shows or something for years. Maybe not quite a decade, but close. And
a straight up live stream from the site is definitely doable.
Okay.
And, most facilities, most arenas will have enough bandwidth on site that as long as you can block it out for what you're doing, and my impression is as long as you pay for it, you can do that.
Got it. Okay.
We're looking at more like, we need to get on fiber to a remote location. And, like we might be looking at doing stuff in a movie theater, for example, like that kind of thing. So it's a little more involved than simply streaming. I mean, I'm not saying it's so simple to stream. Like 5 years ago, it was impossiple, right?
Right. Yeah,
now it's like, it's not that big.
Now we take it for granted. If it doesn't work, we're pissed, right? Yeah, exactly.
No, totally. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, like if you can't do it from the airplane, you're disappointed.
Why can't I stream Netflix from the plane? This is crazy. I want my 4K on my Apple Vision Pro,
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of what's on the horizon right now.
Yeah.